Looking for an approval of our meeting agenda for this evening. Second?
I'll second.
Thank you. Any discussion on the agenda? All in favor? Thank you. Do we have any open floor? No food cards? Okay, let's move on to item B, special presentations to the board. Our Red Hawk program update.
Who's that?
That's you.
Good evening. Hey everyone, I'm Jennifer DiBianco, Director of Student Support Services. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Perfect. Hi again. I'm Jennifer DiBianco, Director of Student Support Services and Interventions.
Stand up, Jen.
You did.
And I'm Jennifer Shawnson. I'm the reading and writing teacher here at the high school.
So we were here in November and we wanted to give you a brief update just because we're so excited about the program. I wanted to tell you the teachers that are involved in the Red Hawk program: Fred Kiwanis, Katie Gosigan, Kim Lacey, Vicki Downs, our TA, and Carrie Faulkner was the administrative intern that helped a ton this year.
Ms. Galvan, if you'd be so kind as to move to the next slide. We'd like to draw your attention here to our little bit of humor for the evening.
That's what I was trying to do.
If you're familiar with Toy Story, we decided to put together a little bit of humor, inject some humor into our evening here tonight.
So with the lights, she just asked me what it said. So it says Andy, but it's crossed off and it says Mr. Martin because in the movie, remember when your grand... Yeah.
Yeah. So how does the movie go? Okay, go to the next slide, please.
So what's all the buzz about? This year we've done a lot with the students in terms of goal setting. We've talked about peer pressure, bullying. We've done a career inventory. We've talked about perseverance, refusal skills. We have Farnham that we are using that's in our building every Wednesday, and she's been coming into the library and talking to students about the effects of drugs on the brain. Together we did something on mindfulness, communication skills. We've been able to go to Camp Hollis, Syracuse Stage, the most, which we'll highlight in a little bit. We had a discussion on Chromebooks because a lot of the students were very anxious about, are they going to get to their bus on time? Where are they going to put them? Things that you don't really think about when you have something new coming into school. And we also had the owner of ResCom come in and speak to them. Next. So next is the data, and again, Carrie Faulkner put this together for us. She's our admin intern. If you can see it a little bit bigger if we click on the Google Doc, but anyhow, it basically compares the GPAs from this point of the year, from 8th grade, to how they're doing now in 9th grade. So that basically highlights.
And no, those aren't real students.
Yes.
Yes. One of the things since the last presentation that I was able to step in with, and this focuses on the 7 students that I have that are part of the Red Hawk program that are enrolled in the reading and writing elective. This is the STAR data that shows where they placed for their instructional reading level, their IRL, in September. So 7th month of 5th grade, 1st month of 11th grade on down. I progress monitor, so in addition to the standard 3 times that students test in September, January, and May, I do an additional 2 progress monitors, one in November and then one in March. So when I took the March data and I compared it to where they were at in September, of the Red Hawk students that I have enrolled in my course, the 7 that I have here, you can see that every single one of them has made growth from September until March. That's fantastic data to be able to showcase. STAR test, when you're looking, it tends to have an up and down trend when you're going with the trend line and you're looking for growth. To see the consistent growth and be able to look at it from September to November to January to March and see growth in all of those students across the board for the students that I have enrolled that are Red Hawks, this is fantastic news. It's very, very reassuring. So we just wanted to be able to highlight that and showcase to you what that growth looks like.
Listen, if you want to go into greater detail, the band kids aren't getting here for another 45 minutes, so I don't want you to feel you're rushed. You need to slow it down.
But I do want to say, to compliment Jen, these are kids, not only is this growth, but having had these kids for, and several of them since 3rd grade, not only do they not generally show this much growth, it's usually a regression. So once they come to the high school, they transition. So there's usually a 6-month to a year regression every time these kids transition. And then you spend the time trying to build it up. So not only do they not regress, so I have to like give her an extra hug later, they grew. So I think I'm twice as excited about it than you guys ever will be. Because these are the kids that leave. They don't show up to school. They don't grow. They actually go backwards without a program like this.
Refresh my memory on what exactly does the 5.7 represent?
Okay, so if you take, sure, if you take a look at student 1,
Yeah.
in September, so in the second column, September of 2017,
Yeah.
the instructional reading level was 5.7, which would mean the 7th month of 5th grade. So they're reading at a 5th grade reading level. So if you want to look at the decimal as being the month of the school year, and the first number being the grade level that that student is reading at. So the 7th month of 5th grade. So fairly close to a 6th grade reading level, but still within the 5th grade level.
And in 3 of 18, they're in the
6th month
Sixth
of
month.
8th grade.
8th grade.
Correct. So then the growth column will show you the number of grade levels and months of accumulation that they grew within their reading level.
I'm glad I clarified. That's very impressive.
Yes. Thank
So
you.
I thought it was like, until I asked that, I was like, big deal, 1.9. Okay, that's-
No, and I'm glad that you did ask that, because and this is my world, this is what I see all the time,
Thank you.
and I forget that
So you had over half of the 7 advance in less than a year, at least a full grade level
correct,
for the reading.
correct.
And then what would you attribute that to? Like, what are the key influential factors to that?
Or is that part of this as you go on? I don't want to steal the thunder from their slides.
No, it's okay. I mean, I think the way that we've got the program right now set up is that these students travel together as a cohort. So they travel together to their main core classes, English, science, right now, global studies. Those are the main classes that they travel with their cohort. But then for reading and writing, they're placed as is available within their schedule. So that's why I don't see all of them per se. We tried to get all of them involved, but I also working with KUGA 101 this year as an initiative, I was only able to fit so many into my course load. With that said, it's the environment, it's the smaller size, it's the environment that they're in. They're dealing with or working with students who are at multiple grade levels, all focused on the need for advanced reading instruction. They are not necessarily working with, they're working with students that are encouraging them. It's building the classroom environment, the self-esteem. It's creating an environment where they feel safe, is really what it is. And I'm kind of that perspective when we come to our meetings every month. I can sort of speak to how they interact with students outside of their cohort, whereas the other teachers are bringing in how they're acting and reacting within their cohort. So it's a nice kind of dynamic in that regard. But they build off of and they gain positive relationships from all of the students that they're in that classroom with, because that's a huge factor for me is working with the whole child and working on not just the reading piece, but the self-esteem and their home life and all of the factors that come in that they need to work on in order to feel that they are then ready to focus on what's in front of them and to address that insecurity that they may have coming in and knowing they need to be able to be better at reading.
I think just as the students were basically picked for this program from counselors, from administrators that knew them well, the teachers were picked as well. So these are teachers that are caring, confident, they communicate well.
Flexible.
Yes, flexible, and we're all a team. So during the day, we'll be running around to each other's rooms, we email, we'll call each other's room, you know, this student's having a rough day, or this student, they forgot their homework and they're having a meltdown, can you grab them during study hall and make sure they make up that assignment? Can you ask the teacher for a little more time? So we're constantly communicating, and I think that's a huge difference as well.
And mention the one person that played such a key role who couldn't be here today, TA, Vicki Dale.
Yes, Vicki Dale, we mentioned as part of our team in the first presentation and slide, because she's going to be in a video in a little bit, but she's instrumental, absolutely.
I got one last, I don't want to beat it, but are these 7 children together?
No, I have them
Okay.
split up over the course of by
Okay.
4 different sections.
Good. That's the reason for my question is, you know.
Yes.
So you don't have a 5th grade reader with a,
Oh, I do.
you do?
Oh, I do. Oh, yes.
Good.
Oh, yes. Yes. I have some students, I have one section where I've got a student that is reading at a 3rd grade level who is working with a student who is at an 8th grade reading level. It varies. But part of that is also unified when I'm trying to develop content or curriculum that I'm modeling after. Like I can go over to Ms. Goskin and say, okay, you know, what's going on with you guys right now? What are you working on? And she says, oh, we're working on our sociograms for Romeo and Juliet. And I say, oh, okay, let me run back over to my room. I'm going to start putting something together that's going to help reinforce that for them, knowing that's what they're working on there. And so my communication, I'm working with the teachers of the students that I have to find out what are they doing that I can build the content and the curriculum to reinforce what they're getting in their core classes as well.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
The next slide is just a brief highlight on one of the recent field trips we took to the Most Museum in Syracuse. And the students had a great time. We were able to see the IMAX movie, they were on climbing walls, able to see physics in action, and they really were able to be independent and walk around just with us and explore. So that was really, it was a treat for them, and they really enjoyed it.
And we also took a field trip earlier in the year over to Hillside Cemetery. And that was one where we were able to bring in information from all of our content areas. So we had English, we had science, we had reading, things that we were doing in all of the areas. Oh, they can stay there, Vince. That we brought in from all of our levels of content. It worked out well. So we should try to make ongoing trips for the kids.
Camp Hollis was another field trip. It's a ropes course, and that was done in the beginning of the program. And you have students that were, scared to talk to each other, almost deer in headlights, didn't know how to interact with us. And with us being able to just, go in relaxing clothes and jeans and try all these different ropes courses with the students, and they saw us, fall and laugh, and it was great because, they were taking pictures of each other, and students that didn't talk to each other were helping each other up and were encouraging. It was really great.
When I want to say that too, when the year started, because it's right outside of my office, they would just put their heads down and they want to look at me. Now they say, "Good morning, sir. How are you today?" Totally different in the way that they act.
Piqued my interest. Did you say Hillside Cemetery?
Yes.
Field trip? Well, I don't mean to be.
I say that with great enthusiasm. Yeah.
What's the impetus? I'm not being facetious.
No,
I never thought of taking
absolutely.
my kids to the Hillside Cemetery.
Yeah, absolutely. This was something that stemmed from when I worked in Brewerton. We took my 4th graders to the cemetery on Catherine Street in Brewerton. And so this was something that we brought up as an idea. Fred Quanis does a unit on weathering, so they were able to take a look at the scientific approach of taking a look at the weathering and what causes the weathering and how, and to see it in action from some of the stones and how the stones have weathered over the years. We take a look at, in the reading and writing course, we take a look at some of the biographical backgrounds and the obituaries and learning about the people from Central Square that were buried there. And in English, they were working on short stories from Edgar Allan Poe, doing the Telltale Heart. And so we brought in information. We had short stories that we brought in, articles that we brought in. So it was multi-purpose. We had a lot of stuff going on there. And then they also had a scavenger hunt as well. Yes, absolutely.
And Fred has them put their ear real close, and he stands behind him and he says, "Carpe diem." You know what I'm talking about?
They had a scavenger hunt as well. It was really fun. They were, walking around trying to find last names, different people, and it was great.
This one I can speak to. We just came back from New York City, so every year as presented before all of you to approve an overnight field trip for the drama club to go down to New York City. This is a little smorgasbord of pictures from our trip down there. This year we had 6 of the Red Hawk students join into drama club, 3 of them that stuck with it wholeheartedly, and 2 of them in an acting role, 1 of them in a crew position, not necessarily wanting to get on stage. And with our newest event coming up in May, we're adding an improv night to our agenda. And our crew member, who is quiet and in the background, is now also asked to join in on stage. So it's wonderful to see just how much growth has taken place. The fact that they've joined in without any reservation to this club and this group of people, they've been accepted, and you would never know. It's the most amazing thing. Our strongest improv actor is one of our Red Hawk students. She is a quiet freshman.
And again, I can tell you, as a former principal of these kids, they did not connect in any way to any social organization, any sport. It was hard to get them to even come to school, let alone actually make a connection to something extracurricular. So when they started joining these things, I'm looking at them and they're like, oh, we only got 6 kids. Do you understand that kid is 87 days of school last year and never joined anything ever since 3rd grade? So, again,
I give a lot of credit to Jen Square.
yeah, exactly. It's pretty amazing.
Thank you. But I do want to point out, one of the images on there above the NYC, I'm not fond of putting a selfie up there. However, the gentleman standing with me in that picture, just to point out so that you understand exactly what a big deal this is when we go down to New York. These students were part of our group attending My Fair Lady at Lincoln Center Theater, okay, Vivian Beaumont Theater. And as I was talking with the usher, because I tend to run my mouth, went to go use the restroom, and as I came back, this gentleman was standing there talking with us because he heard from someone that there was a theater group in the audience, and he had to come see us. And then the usher said to me, oh, I should probably let you know, this is the director of our show. And that was when my jaw promptly hit the floor. And Heather Goulot, who was attending the trip with us, reached over and said, so nice to meet you, sir, because for once in my life, I was speechless. Totally, absolutely, without a bit, speechless. So that is a huge, huge accomplishment for us anyway, to be able to say and share with that we met the director. So, we're on the back. Yes, that's exactly right. So this image that you see up here in the left that looks similar in complexity to the Central Square budget, that is a sociogram from Romeo and Juliet. We're gearing you up to be the next guest speaker to come and talk to the Red Hawks. They're working on these sociograms and the symbolism and so on that goes on between the characters and the relationships within Shakespeare's play. An example of how I'm pulling together, within the Red Hawks, how we're pulling together that content working together is I'm focusing on argumentation and contributing factors in the sinking of the Titanic as one of my focal points, focusing on the argument writing. So within looking at what Ms. Gosligan was doing, I decided to bring some elements from the movie Titanic into it. So now we've got students focused on argument writing. We're bringing in the relationship between Jack and Rose. How does that parallel to Romeo and Juliet, making connections, going through and looking at textual writing, the idea of class and status and relationships and tragedy, and taking those larger themes and connecting them together. So going back to what I attribute the success to with that reading growth, a lot of that has to do with the connections that they're seeing as an overlap between their individual content areas and how it's being bridged together. And that's one thing that we really try to take and do a lot with the students. So that's just one piece. And then on the right-hand side, the little video that you're going to see is actually the Red Hawks got to be the first to try out a new green screen that we got as part of a grant with Mrs. Sandoval. Yeah, no, that's really in our auditorium. We just set things up for this and then just took it right down. Yeah, this is what the, yeah.
Preview.
Absolutely. So if you'd like to hit play, it's just a quick little.
Romeo! actually both can speak to this piece. This is a student, again, we won't mention names, but a student that was very tentative, very fearful. I would get calls from teachers in several classes, the student's crying, they're shut down, I don't know what to do. You know, I'm trying every trick in my toolbox. Okay, so you know, need a break, does he want to walk, does he need help, does he need one-on-one? We're trying everything. And I think the fact that we didn't give up and we had several strategies and we all worked together really showed a difference. If you look at the first writing sample, this was something in the beginning of the year. It's very difficult to see, but it says, consider a time in your life when you personally went through an important change. How did your identity change or evolve? And clearly explain your situation in detail and address how you dealt with it. So this student, you know, had several things that they needed to do. You know, they had to explain an experience, they had to describe it in detail. I mean, it's fully scaffolded, giving them directives and, you know, how do you do this step by step? And this is what we got. You know, it's hard to read, it's, you know, maybe elementary, it's short in length, you know, and there's 7 directives to address this prompt. But if you check the writing sample from 2018, you'll see the difference. You'll be amazed.
And right here. Nope, that's
Just
totally
click,
writing
yeah.
sample, April 2018.
If you, yeah, click that. Yep, there you go. Thanks.
Whoa.
Yeah.
And scroll down.
Mm-hmm. Keep going.
Wow.
Yeah, I mean, it was chills when I saw the difference, because working with the student all year, and even seeing, like you, Mr. Cobble, mentioned, the students that interact. I mean, this student wouldn't say anything, and you know, we sent them today to, they said, I have a mouse on my computer and I need new batteries. And we sent them alone to the library to get batteries and ask and find, you know, out who to ask. And this would never happen before. And you have a good story too.
I was going to say, just today, the student came into me having a very engaging conversation about whether or not Jar Jar Binks is actually a Sith Lord in the Star Wars series, which is for me a very personal interest of mine. So, you know, this was wonderful. But this is a student who would never even think to speak to me. And I don't have him for reading and writing, but I do have him for Cayuga. And this is a student that, again, you would speak with, would shut down instantly. And you would have to just continually try to work with different angles and different strategies to try to get through to him. And by today, he was initiating that conversation as soon as he walked into the room. So that's a huge change from September till now. Huge.
Cracking jokes, sense of humor, I mean, things we didn't see at all in September, not at all.
Absolutely.
Okay, the next, I'm definitely not getting any Emmys, Grammys, Tonys, anything for this video. Vicki Dale and I made this quickly in the library because we were, you know, sad that she couldn't be here tonight, and she really wanted to say how amazing the teamwork is, so you'll see a quick video.
And yes.
How are you? Good. How are you? I'm good. So I just wanted to point out, what's one thing that you would say you look forward to every single morning?
What I look forward to every single morning is coming to school and knowing that there's all these teachers that care a lot about their students.
What now? Like who?
You.
Me. Who are you?
Every time I come in the morning, they're always saying they're happy to see me.
I am. And that's true. I love seeing you every single day. Makes my day. Makes me very happy. Yes. I'm the most happy. Anything else you want to say?
Dry Rocks program has really helped me a lot because before my grades were really bad and I just didn't care. And this year, these teachers really in the Dry Rocks program really made me understand that my grades are important and they gave me a lot of help that I need.
You are valued. And you are important. And we are so happy to have you here already. Oh my goodness, did I say it again? Oh, all right. I guess I'm just going to have to keep saying it until the end of the year. Well, thank you, Helen. I'm so glad that you shared with us.
So my favorite part is the fact that some of my friends are in the Red House program with me, and like there are 4 teachers there to help.
My favorite thing would have to be how nice the teachers are and how ready they are to help you.
For everyone in the Red Hawk program is so supportive, and I love them all so much that I've been able to help. At first I wasn't sure about it, but now I'm sure it's a great program. I'm happy to be part of it. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Jennifer DiBianco, and I'm the Director of Student Support Services and Interventions.
Hi, I'm Vicki Dale, and I'm the teaching assistant with the Red Hawk program. And I think that the Red Hawk program team rocks. And the reason for this is because the children know they can come to any of us on the team, and we will do whatever we can to help them academically, socially, and emotionally.
I agree. We also have been fortunate enough to have library time every Wednesday where Chris Sanamot has helped the students learn about Google Drive, certain academic supports, and we also have had great speakers come in and to help with Farnham, which is now in the building.
I also think one of the keys to the success of the program is I am able to bring students down from their study halls and give them academic support and help show them what assignments they might be missing.
In order for the students to join the program, parents have agreed to also be supportive, and so we are lucky enough to be able to offer them extra support as well. We've had a couple different groups throughout the year, and we connect through email and phone calls throughout the year.
So, we'd like to say thank you.
Thank you.
Where are you guys? Here.
Together, we can continue to move the Red Hawk program to
Infinity and beyond.
And again, we do want to say thank you. We appreciate the opportunity to be able to be up here to speak about this. And if you have any questions at all, happy to answer them, or if you think of anything after the fact, we'd love to hear from you.
Yeah, we love being able to talk about something positive. Great. Thank you.
Well, I have a question. You're not going anywhere. Well, I know from my position, I'm really proud of you guys and what you've done. And to me, it showed a need, right? We had some positions, we had some goals, we met goals, surprised by what was accomplished. So to me, it's now, how do we enact a force multiplier of what you've done? The more, because to me, it can branch out and affect a lot of students. Because you can be a high honor roll student and still have issues.
I agree.
And so to me, that's not that the homework assignment, but to me, it's a force multiplier of what you've done and how we need to increase it. We need to educate. How can we take this very good thing, and to me this is phenomenal, and make it better and increase it?
We are going to add another class of Red Hawks next year. And I know we always think, oh, numbers, we need more students that can be affected. Right now we started with 25, but then went down to close to 14. And again, because these students are at risk, one ended up in foster care, sometimes people move. There's things that happen throughout this group. We want to try to add another 25, but what research shows and what we're finding even, talking to people in Title I grants, they say you need to keep these groups small because they get that individual attention, and when the groups increase, and I've even found that I worked at BOCEs and alternative programs most of my life, if they get too big, then the whole purpose, it just becomes more people, but not the individualized attention that they need and the academic support that they need. So we definitely want to grow the program, but you can't do it so fast and so big that it loses everything that was working well.
However, there might be less than 20 kids that are assigned to the program, but it is press off my office, and I don't know where to find the other kids, they're always but when I go by at lunch, because they've established a peer group and they've expanded it, now these were kids without a peer group. So they kind of pulled some other kids in and they brought
I
But
agree.
I've never seen it with less than 25 kids. So,
We started a lunch group, so we're getting students there. The Red Hawks bring in their friends to lunch, and then some of them like eating lunch in the cafeteria, which is fine too, but they tell their friends, so they know it's just an open, supportive environment. And sometimes we're doing counseling, but sometimes we're just kind of watching them interact, and if it's, we're giving them kudos, and if they are off topic or something's inappropriate, we model for them, okay, well, no, talk about something else. I mean, it's just really a great place where they're all coming in and getting all different kinds of students. I mean, it's the different groups of students that some of them have anxiety, some of them are the kids that are, maybe we're the bullies, and now you're saying, okay, well, in this room, you can't act like that. And they appreciate the support and the guidance. And we have Oswego students from Oswego College that we were lucky enough to have help the Red Hawks their tutoring during our advisement. And unfortunately, they're gone in a couple weeks. But I even have other kids, if our students were like, no, I don't really want their help, I have other kids saying, oh, wow, you have this help? And I invite them in, and they're getting help. So slowly, the groups are getting bigger and bigger, but they're unofficial Red Hawks, so they're just students we took under our wing for whatever reason.
Isn't that really what it should be, though?
Yeah.
In a public school?
Yeah,
I mean,
sure.
realistically, you know what I'm saying? Because, I mean, to me, that's great that you're able to get the kids supporting other kids.
Right.
And, because there's a lot of animosity that goes on in high school, so.
Yeah, sure.
they spend a lot of time reteaching pro-social skills. Things that you assume kids come to school with. How to say good morning. How many times you say, good morning, and the kids walk by you. You have to teach them to say good morning. You have to teach them to say good morning. It used to be given. It's not a given anymore. And they spend a lot of time teaching those very basic skills of how to treat your peers.
They don't look at you, they look at their feet, and they're, not,
Sure.
don't make eye contact.
Or they don't know how to be assertive. I had a student today, I'm perfectly friendly, she thought she was being nice. She kept messing up the other girl's hair, and the other person was just standing there. I'm like, it doesn't look like you like that. Now, how can you tell her that you don't like it? In just a nice way, but assertive, and we kind of talked about it and role modeled, and they learned something. But sometimes it's hard for them to do, and it's happening, in their life too, where people are treating them a certain way and they don't know how to say stop or walk away. And we had a whole group on assertiveness skills and what's some of the things that you can say, and what can you do when you're uncomfortable, and how can you walk away. But they're basic skills that they don't have yet.
One is generational. So I was just talking about this with some board members before we started. The greatest thing a parent can do is be a role model for the child. The people that you're helping right now will be the parents of our future kids in our elementary buildings. So it's a cycle, and by doing this now, it's going to pay such huge dividends when we're working with their children in our elementary buildings someday. It's huge.
They only know what they've seen.
Right.
I just have a quick follow-up question. With you adding the 25 more, how will they be selected? I know they're at risk and there's factors, but is it multiple grade levels, or is it now just going to be the 9th grade class coming up?
So we started out with just incoming 9th graders. So they're going to go to 10th grade. They will continue in the program, and then the new 9th graders will come in. We, every year we'll add a new grade. So, and the goal of a program like this is by the time they're seniors, they don't need this program anymore. There are some kids that will.
That was my follow-up question. So
But
in
the
addition
goal
to
is, by the end of 11th grade, they aren't hanging out with them as much.
So the students that are moving up to 10th grader, they're going to be 10th graders. I assume you're getting a new flock of geese or
Yes.
to lead them, because it's different subject matter in 10th grade, but you guys will obviously still be involved.
They stay the same. The teachers are handpicked.
Right. But the
So
teachers this year were just 9th grade?
Correct.
Okay.
So now a new set of 10th grade teachers have been handpicked. These kids will go to them. Some of them are the same people because they happen to teach both 9th and 10th grade, but some are not. And that's done purposefully because you don't want them to become so dependent upon.
So they need to learn to adapt to changes as much as everything
So
else.
in general, they're only guaranteed 2 Red Hawk teachers. might have more, but their schedules don't always set that way, so that they also do have to adapt to, so the Red Hawk teachers teach them the coping skills that they need to go into the other classes. Because the goal is, by the end of 11th grade,
So the goal is to end this at 11th grade, so 12th grade, they're back with the general population?
they are still in with general population, they just have handpicked teachers.
Right, but I'm saying, so in 12th grade, that it would be as if they were never in the Red Hawk program, that's the goal? That's great.
We'll see if it happens, but that's the goal. That's the way it is in the programs that we modeled after. And all they would maybe need it for is, maybe they do their study hall in the Red Hawk room.
Or the lunch.
And they might become like a mentor to the younger kids. That's the goal.
Right.
And you may have some that might need the reading and writing, again, like that's a fluid, they would be able to enter in or out of that. So there's some, opportunity for that as well if they still need that, if they're looking for that piece.
Great job.
Thank you.
Thank you, ladies.
Mr. Haldeman, we said 7:15, right? Or 7:30, 7:30.
So I think it's, we should go to.
Okay. Item E, reports approval of the meeting minutes from the April 9th regular board meeting. Second?
Is that working now?
Yeah.
Thank you. I'll make a motion to accept the meeting minutes of April 9th.
Second?
Second.
Okay, any discussion? All in favor? Okay.
I'll make a motion to finish unfinished business.
Fantastic. As a matter of fact, let's start right out with Naviance. So,
That was good.
Connie, do you want to jump in? You were the one that found a lot of that information for us.
Sure.
Good news here.
So, I knew you were going to do that. So the guidance.
Go and just jump in.
So, how about I just stand up and yell?
Okay.
So the guidance department is taking a look at Naviance, the parent portal. They are meeting with a woman named Judy Crigliano, who's out of BOCES, Zurich, out of BOCES. It is going to come and show them. Arena's team will be part of the rollout to parents. So they're getting the training on it, finding out exactly what it can do, and it should be out and be ready to rock and roll as soon as they get it. I think they meet with her on Monday after break.
Cost?
There is no cost.
Thank you. That's that for Naviance. Moving on to UPK, transportation. So we looked into this. Aaron had put the questions on the UPK survey for the parents, the applications, and it had come back that the majority of them were interested in busing. So what we thought we would do, and my recommendation to the board is to do what I believe Oswego does, another large district, and they do one way. So this is a good way for us to be able to transition, not ever having 4-year-olds on a bus. So the way it would work is they would be part of the normal run in the morning, and that when they're done with their AM session, the parents would then come and pick them up. Parents would, for the PM session, they would bring in their child, and then those students would go home on the PM run. So parents would have one of their rides taken care of. We think it's a good way to kind of ease into it. Parents can talk to their kids, how was it on the bus? There were some parents that weren't sure about having both ways, right at first. We haven't done this yet. We think it's a good way to watch for the first year with the goal of putting it in place for the next year. And it also would allow us to budget for it. We looked at this isn't really going to add a transportation cost, but next year, if we were to go both ways, it's about, I want to say $123,000.
Depending on how many runs were needed.
Correct. So this is a good step in the right direction to be able to allow the parent to have their children on the bus one way. Some have already said they don't want that, they want to drive both ways, but there were enough for us to be able to try it.
That costs pre or post aid?
You get no aid on this because pre-UPK is not mandated.
Do we have a ballpark idea? Are we adding extra routes because the kids are going to be spread out more?
And talking to Aaron, the question was, are we adding extra routes? And talking to John Pierce, he did not mention that there would be more routes added as a result of this, and based on where he saw the kids being.
Right, because we don't really know where the kids, the only problem that's going to happen is if we have kids who are, because sometimes with UPK, they don't attend their home school because we have to fill the program, so we start, and then if there's, 2 open slots, we have to take from somebody else. So what I'm going to do is when they register on May 15th, have the building clerical ask them if they intend, their intentions, are they planning on using the transportation? And if so, what is the address that they will be picked up or dropped off from so that I can give it to John so that he has a jump start on where those routes will be coming from.
Will we be required to bus those kids if they don't go to their home school?
No. And so that is something that we've currently done for parents. So we'll say Brewerton, their 18 are filled. Now there was a time last year that Brewerton had 2 UPK sessions filled and a waiting list. This year we've only had 1 UPK, which is one of the reasons why their kindergarten numbers are so low next year. But when that 18 filled, and then let's say somebody else moved into the area, that 18 is filled, it's not on Central Square, you're able to add more. It's all grant funded, and we're only allotted a certain number. But so what they would do is they would look, and if nobody else in, let's say, the homeschool of Hastings, let's say they only had 17, and there was nobody within that kind of pool within Hastings that was on a waiting list, then the parent would then drive their child over to Hastings if they so choose to. Some would say no, I'm going to just go to a different pre-K type facility. But I can't imagine that we would be able to support that if there was somebody from Brewerton that wanted to go to Cole. There's just logistically no way that we would just get the bus to bring it all the way through and then bring it all the way back. So that's something that we'll look into. Hopefully the numbers will be high enough that we can have that to worry about. Right now we're dealing with really low numbers in UPK and kindergarten next year.
So Tom, we're thinking of this for September start? Is that what
Correct.
you're hearing? Nothing this year, obviously not to finish out this year,
No.
but anything this year. I just have a personal comment that I really, and since we talked about it, I can look at both sides, but I have to tell you, I struggle with 40-year-olds on the bus. And then somebody says to me, well, what's the difference between a 4 and a 5-year-old? A year.
Yeah.
I mean, it's pretty simple. So that I just share with the group that
No, I get it.
it scares the hell out of me, to be very candid with you.
There's only one district besides us in Oswego County that aren't doing it. The majority of them are. Oswego does one way. The rest of them, they all do it, and they bust the 4-year-olds. So I hear you though. They're 4 years old. Putting a 4-year-old on a school bus with a 5th grader, I totally understand. And that was also reflected in some of the parents saying, you know what, we feel more comfortable at 4 to drive them.
And I know what you're saying, Tim, because I also have one that's going to go to UPK next year, and I'm still not sure about the busing on my end. But I do know from my other children watching that there was a lot of children that signed up for UPK, but the parents just were not able to get them there, and it's just great.
And that's what I'm saying. I can look at both. I certainly get it.
Yep.
I would say to that too, the bus drivers do a really good job. Like Katie's in kindergarten right now, and all the kindergartners sit in the front row. So I assume any buses that have 4-year-olds, the kindergartners would be in row 2, and the 4-year-olds would be in row 1. I don't think they'd let them be back as a 5th grader. At least I hope that they wouldn't allow. Even if it was a sibling, I almost feel like the sibling would have to sit in the front. So.
Is there any requirement for like monitors or anything?
That's for the 3-year-old. If we were to put 3-year-olds on a bus, which I would absolutely unequivocally say no. The 3-year-olds are still in diapers. and the way that that works, they would have to be required to be in a car seat, which means that nobody's sitting in the seat behind, there could be nobody sitting behind a seat that has a car seat, and you would have to have a monitor on every bus with the So that would substantially change it as part of the regs that John Pierce looked into. While we're staying with Tim's request to finish unfinished business, let's jump right up to the district-wide safety and security. So last night I missed a big part of cabaret and the art students' displays because I was actually been asked to be on the county-wide safety and security forum that the Greg Oaks, the district attorney, did a great job of the meeting up there. He brought in one of the top authorities on active shooters, school shootings, who's actually a professor at SUNY Oswego. She volunteered to come down with Greg Oaks and address our high school students. And Mr. King is looking at a time real soon that we could have an assembly just like that for them. Because what he talks about is not only safety, but it's also about making threats and how that is illegal and you can be arrested and the ramifications as a result of that. Because we've seen, not only in our county, but across the region, students making these threats on Snapchat and this, that, talking about school shooting and not realizing the magnitude of that. And so it's one thing for our teachers to say that, or guidance counselors, or administrators. It's a different thing when the district attorney is coming here and saying that, because these are things that he prosecutes. Part of this plan, though, is to be able to create a model that the school districts in the county could then model theirs after. Also, part of this, all the superintendents from Oswego County were there, and we've been having at the chiefs meetings at City BOCES, all the superintendents were talking about something like, okay, is it going to be Armored One? We saw the prices when we looked into it. It could be like $50,000 for the year, but again, if it's run through the BOCES COSER, we get 75% back on that, and things like that. So we're looking at what that really would entail. It's a really thorough, it's kind of like what we did with our TAS report for busing, but it would be for safety, and they would come in and they would identify all the areas in all of the schools. So last night they did mention Navigate, and I did say we have Navigate, so a lot of superintendents are also in our county are getting Navigate, as that's also now become part of the BOCES COSER, which again, that means we get 76% back, 75% back on that. And the power of that app is going to be phenomenal and really empower all staff members to be able to initiate a lockdown. But it also gives all of the first responders, the police officers, firefighters, EMTs, 360 pictures of all of the classrooms, auditoriums, and everything, which is huge. It gives them virtual folders to be able to look and to be able to literally pull up any one of the school's safety plans and the whole 9 yards there. We're still continuing to meet on what is that really going to look like for us, and then the end result of that, we're not in a rush right now, but the end result would be to do a capital project for safety, where King and King would then address, okay, the entrances of all the buildings, some more cameras, the films on the glass. That's also being discussed as part of this safety forum, as the district attorney, Greg Oaks, has been bringing in professionals, and they're basically saying right now what we have around the country is we have a lot of companies coming in to cash in on this. So we don't want to get caught up in that frenzy when they're saying try this thing, try that thing. So the district attorney is doing some wonderful things in bringing in the professionals, and the professionals are saying, no, you don't need that thing that costs $200,000. You can do this, which is like, there isn't even a cost to that. Or if there is, what are the companies that we can go through a BOCES COSER? And so that's what we're looking at. Because as you know, obviously, I probably get about 70 emails a week from companies just for safety. And I don't want to say they're trying to cash in on this, but again, they're vendors, and they see right now that there's a need. So it was really well attended last night, and we're going to have several more of them. I'm excited that the next community safety forum that we have here, we'll be able to share with the people that came to the first one. There were about 200 of them last month. We can share all of the things that had come out because they were working at different tables, administrators at each one with a Google Doc. But then we're also going to have Greg Oaks back. We're going to have some police officers, some firefighters, and EMTs, because they've been also working together on a grouped plan, not only for our school, but for the county and how they would come in. David Eef, firefighter, fire chief in Fulton, and a parent in our district, he talked about that there was a massive need for all of those units to be better synchronized together, and they've been working on that. So that they're going to play a key role in our plan as well. Meeting with the principals, we're going to have a work session coming up in May, where we're after school for about 2 to 3 hours, when we look at every single building's plan, and we look at all the things that we're doing right now that we can even change for the better to guarantee that. So we're doing a lot with with the safety, which brings me down to the last one, and that was the safety patrol officers. So myself and Andy Martin and Ken Sherman and I believe one of the town trustees, the village trustees, and Officer Mike McCarthy is going to be interviewing the first candidate. So the way that this has been working is it's been all through the village police department, and Officer McCarthy has been kind of getting a pool of what he is calling the best of the best to put in front of us. A lot of these are current school resource officers, newly retired like last year or this year, police officers that have training in schools, and so we're really excited to see what that's going to entail. The goal, as we talked about, was 3, but we do have it if we see a 4th one that is a really good candidate, we could look to increase that number. Again, the number was $40,000 with an additional 7 to 10 of all the trainings and just the weapon, the whole 9 yards that go along with that. So for that price, that's phenomenal. We're not doing it. We're not getting a retired person to be able to say, oh, it's going to be cheaper, so it's going to be a less than product. I'm very happy that I had 4 parents contact me because at first they were upset. If they're watching this, I thank you for calling me. We had great dialogue, and by the end of it, all 4 of them were very, very happy. And ironically, 3 out of the 4, all I had to do was say Officer Mike McCarthy, and they were like, oh my God, I worked with him at Phoenix. I know him. He trained my husband, who was a school resource officer. He does all the training across the state. It was like the blessing was right there. Once I just even said his name, that he's a part of this. But the fact is, you have to be a retired police officer as part of the Special Patrol Officer Civil Service position. But again, we would not agree to put anybody in that position if we didn't think that they were more than equipped and knowledgeable with experiences to be able to do that and be successful. So we're really, really happy with this partnership with the village. That pretty much is all of my finished business. Thank you.
I would only make one comment, Tom, not to gloss over, but I do think with the situation we're in after Parkland and all this, there are people trying to capitalize on this. There's no doubt about it. So I don't want to minimize that. There definitely are people that are taking an opportunity time to, so you got to be cautious.
You want him?
Yeah.
Okay.
He's here, so we can. All right. Perfect. while they are getting ready,
I think we're live, right? Okay. So I'm making Andrew Graziano and Tammy Graziano stand up here with me, so I'm not standing up here alone. So, first of all, these are the two directors of our Winter Guard program, and I want to give them definitely their due recognition. Andrew Graziano and also Tammy Graziano for all their hard work. We'll start with that first of all. I also want to thank our Board of Education for recognizing them this evening, and our parents who work very, very hard and are behind them. And this, look at that, they're behind them again. They're always behind them, all right, helping out in every possible way. And so this journey this year is a little bit unprecedented. I believe the last time that we got close to anything like this was back in 2007 or 2008 when our field band won a championship. The drumline won a state championship, and our two guards, I think we had 2 guards at the time. I don't think we had 3. Am I right about that or wrong? Yes. We had 2 guards at the time. There were 4 championships. So this year, there are 3 guards. First of all, I'll introduce them to you. The novice guard, if you would stand up, please. The novice guard placed first in their class, and won gold in the Mid-York Championships. And then I'm going to have our SRA guard stand up. And once again, they placed first and won gold in, again, Mid-York State Champion, in the Mid-York Regional Championship. And they got promoted. They were promoted. The amazing thing about them is they were promoted to a classification higher, and they still won the class. So it was like undefeated season. And over here to my right, the varsity guard. If you stand up, there we are. And the varsity guard is an interesting group. They also went to several regionals and also performed most recently in Dayton, Ohio, at World Guard International. And that is an amazing thing. This is their 2nd year there. Last year, I believe they finished 40-something in the country. 47th, thank you. And this year, they finished 32nd. All right, 32nd in the country out of 100 guards. That is an amazing accomplishment. But again, they won gold at the Mid-York Regional. So you have 3 guards, undefeated season. You have 3 guards that have just been unbelievably successful, and they worked hard. And of course, the guard program is part of our field band program as well as the winter drumline. And you know, that's just going to help feed everything and make it better and make it stronger. And the more parents that we have behind them, and the more students that we have that are involved, these are quality students, you know. The parents might think, I wonder if the parents would even admit it. They wonder how in the world Tammy and Andy get them to do the things that they do. Look at that, they're shaking their heads. They won't clean their room, but you ought to see them work really hard and clean up after rehearsals and things. They do it all, okay? So once again, thank you for recognizing them this evening. I'm going to have them all stand. And one more big round of applause for the state champions.
Well, we're honored to have all of you here tonight, and we did want to recognize it. It is pretty incredible. I think I've talked to just about everyone, Mr. and Mrs. Graziano, and I actually made a couple calls and trying to research it. As near as we can tell, it's the first time in history that the same school has won gold in 3 different classes. So you guys continue to be trendsetters. And there's a ton that can be said about this. I'll just say personally, for those that haven't maybe been able to see a show or experience it, it's unbelievable what they go through. If you haven't seen it, here's what we saw this year. Number one, and I said this in a post to most of the parents and kids, but laughter, tears, all of that. But you know, we joke and people say it's not a sport. The number of injuries this year was incredible, and I'm not talking light stuff. There's some funny stuff, but there's some serious stuff too, right? Cleaning up blood after a competition, not our girls, luckily, that I know of. But it's very intense, and the level of effort is amazing. In fact, I had one of our student athletes, not golf guard, come up and say they had thought about doing it, but they're just not ready for the level of commitment. Like it's that intense, right? But they get a lot out of it. So, thank you, Mr. Colbufo, for allowing them to be recognized.
And on that note, so we have a college recruit readiness committee with over 160 people, a lot of them parents, business owners, admissions officers from SU, Lemoyne, Ithaca, Cortland, and then just people from every different field. And we came up with 4 categories of what the attributes of a Central Square graduate should be, which then, since it's pre-K-12, it turned into what are the attributes of a Central Square learner. And the reason why I want to say just the name of the 4 categories is because all of you embody these 4 categories. And that's effective communicator and global collaborator. And watching you perform this year, the way that you're able to collaborate is just amazing. It's phenomenal. The second one is innovative and critical thinker. Again, part of that is, and I don't even want to say what that is when you drop, because it's not a baton. I got yelled at 1,000 times. But when you do drop one of those things that you throw into the air. Paris is laughing, but whatever that's called. And if it drops, you have that resiliency, that amazing problem-solving skills, that creativity that you bounce right back. That is amazing. The next one is emotionally intelligent, growth mindset, again, adaptability, phenomenal respect for others. The way that I see you greet or talk to not only people in your group, but other schools. I've had parents come up to me and say, I have never seen such a classier group of students than the people that are in this program. And then engaged, contributing citizens. I could go through, I know the majority of how you volunteer in your communities, the things that you do. I have never seen somebody come out of this program that was somebody that we had to worry about. Again, that goes right to Mr. and Mrs. Graziano, Mr. Haldeman, all of the people that volunteer. And I want to just say there's always been a lot of applause for you. But if you could take for a second, turn and look at all your parents behind you, and I want you to give them a round of applause because you wouldn't be here for one Your level of commitment for all the parents sitting around the room, I have never seen anything like it. I grew up playing hockey, baseball, football. Those parents do nothing. I'm not saying ours now. I'm saying me growing up compared to the hours that you all volunteer and put in for something that's like a 15-hour day. It's amazing. And so again, this whole board sees what you do. And again, yes, we have very talented instructors and we have awesome kids, but if it wasn't for the parents that put those hours in of that commitment, we wouldn't be able to be here. So again, I want to thank everybody in this room. To get the gold in all of those areas is phenomenal. Thank you.
And now, what you really came for, we're going to pause for a moment or two and have some cake. So we invite you all to come up and get a piece because we don't want to go home with it.